What's going on, guys? I am Toxic Jordan. Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be taking a look at the upcoming EZAs here for the transforming cell here, and then the Super Saiyan Goku. I almost said tag switch, but exchange into Super Saiyan Gohan Youth. So yeah, we'll be taking a look into these kits. It's probably going to be a very wordy one, as there is multiple kits for both since they're transforming units. So we've got a lot to look into here. Let's dive right in. Okay, so yeah, it looks like we have not changed the leader skill at all, except for the extra key right here, if I am correct about that, right? Yeah. Okay, so it looks like this is the new trend of what they're gonna do with 200% characters that are EZAing, right? Because obviously the very first ones that we saw were the 7th anniversary LRs, and we noticed that there were no stat changes in their leader skill. It was just the additional 1 key for this extra portion of the leader skill right here. But we're still sticking with the 200% stats, and it looks like they are going to be, at least for the time being, reserving that 220% stat buff for brand new Dokkan Fest that are releasing, right? That's totally fair. 200% is still very viable, right? It's not like that meta has been aged out and we have to use 220 teams at this point. Like, the 220 teams are not widespread enough. They definitely didn't power creep the game that hard that it's like super necessary for that, right? Okay, so yeah, note that, but yeah, we're still dealing with like the Android Cell Saga or Power Absorption category here. He's never had the strongest leader skill. At the time he released, there wasn't a ton of strong options on this build, and there still kind of aren't-ish. I mean, it's mostly Boo cards, but as far as the Android Cell Saga portion of things, this is a very, very weak category at the moment, right? Honestly, both of these categories are pretty weak, so... Okay, so basic effects, 250% stats, high chance to evade. That's good. That's up from a medium chance to evade, right? Oh, and it was based on the number of enemies, yeah. So now he just straight up has a high chance to evade. Okay, and then 170% stats on Super. When facing 2 or more enemies, he gets even more stats. Chance to crit and evade, 18%. When facing 3 or more enemies, more stats, and then an additional 17% for the crit chance and evasion. Okay. So yeah, on the small off chance that you are facing off against multiple enemies, because obviously the majority of tough content in the game, you are only going to be facing against one enemy, then he would actually have some really high stats. So that's going to be 35% plus... Did I do that math right? Ugh. Yeah, 35% plus 50% dodge. So, wow, that's actually really good. He's basically going to be guaranteed dodging. 85% is very, very reliable, right? Okay. And then, yeah, but just having the 50% even when only facing one enemy is not bad either. And just keep in mind that this guy's going to be transforming every turn, right? So you're only going to have to deal with this kit for one turn. Okay, and then when HP is 50% or more, an additional 2 key launches an additional with a high chance to super. Damage reduction and crit chance and evasion chance, 17%. No shot. So, we were already at 85. 17, wait, that puts him at over 100%. Hold on. There's no shot of this. I have to double check. I have to double check this. There is no... Ooh, let's put this on here. Here we go. Okay, so 50% from the high chance, plus the 18% from that first part of the passive, plus the 17%. Yeah, plus an additional 17 equals 102. So if you are on HP 50% or more, and you're facing 3 or more enemies, you have a 102% chance to dodge. I wonder if this one procs separately from these. Because I know for a fact that this will stack with these. That will absolutely get you to the 85%. But I wonder if this one procs separately. So that it would be first an 85% chance to dodge, and then if that fails, then you would get the 17% after. Kind of like how the hidden potential system dodge procs separately. I wonder. There's no way. They're just going to give him a 100% chance to dodge? That's crazy. That could actually be very useful in, like, battle-hardened formidable foes. because it's set up like Super Battle Road. So a lot of the times turn 1, sometimes you are against multiple enemies, and your HP should be over 50% if it's turn 1, right? Wow, don't sleep on that. That's going to be really cool, actually. Interesting. Okay. So then he's greatly raising attack, infinite stacking on that, and then great defense raise for 1 turn. Okay. Starting from turn 3, we are going to transform into second form cell. So let's go ahead and see what this kit is offering to us. 280% stats, so that went up just a little bit. We've got the permanent guard here. Oh, and then that extra ability he was getting for HP being above 50%, we just get in base now. So DR, crit chance and evasion chance 17%. Okay. We did lose the high chance to dodge, but now we have guard here. Okay. And then 180% stats when attacking. When facing 2 or more enemies, we get the additional stats here, plus 18% more crit and evasion. Okay, and then when HP is 50% or more, extra key launches an additional attack with a high chance of super, and then we get this ability again here with the 18%. Okay, not bad. I mean, it's kind of an equivalent kit, right? It doesn't have that same level of baseline protection. Obviously, there's a lot less dodge in here. Well, it's not even like a lot less, because you have 17%, 18%, and then additional 18% here. So it's still kind of a lot. What is that? 36 plus, so that's like 54% dodge if you're facing multiple enemies, and then like 35 if you're not. But if you at least have your HP at a decent level, it's not terrible. I mean, with the permanent guard in there, that is nice, right? Okay, and then his super attack effect is going to be exactly the same. And again, you're only dealing with this for 1 turn, because from your next attacking turn, that's when you get into the good stuff, and we get into the perfect form cell here. Let's go ahead and take a look at his kit. Okay, so, oh my goodness. 400% stats in base. DR, crit chance and evasion, 35%. And then for 3 turns, we're guarding all attacks. And then that will roll off. Okay. We get the stats when attacking, and then when HP is 50% or more, it launches an additional attack that has a great chance of becoming a super, and chance to crit and evasion 35%. So he's got, as long as your HP is above 50%, you got what, 70% dodge? That's crazy. Okay. Yeah, that's not bad. That's definitely not bad. And then he gets the great attack and defense raises for 1 turn. Wow. I'm kind of okay with this kit. Some of it was somewhat dependent on if you were fighting multiple enemies. But if we look throughout the kit, even without the fighting multiple enemies, as long as we can make sure that we're above 50% HP, we're going to have a lot of stuff active in this kit. Yeah, because like even in base, turn 1, high chance to evade plus the extra 17% right here from 50% or more. And we get the additional super, which gives us more defense. Then here, as long as our HP is 50% or more, we have permanent guard. We've got the 17% with the stacking 18% for all 3 of those abilities. So like 35% damage reduction plus 35% dodge chance. It's pretty good. Oh, and he'll also have the additional for the extra defense raises here as well, right? And then we just saw what he looks like in his perfect form as well. So yeah, I'm kind of good with that. Okay, and then if you're unable to hold out and you do get below 50% HP, then you can proc the rage mode as long as once you're in the final form, right? Yeah, let's see, I guess, if there's any neat things here. I actually don't even know what this did. Okay, it was just key 2 and performs a crit. So now we're greatly raising attack temporarily, and we get attack 200%, plus an extra key there. Okay, not bad. They have buffed this up a little bit just to make sure it's actually going to do some damage, right? But that obviously is not really the main point of these rage modes. Usually these rage modes are just good for deleting all the enemy's abilities for a turn, right? Rather than actually applying damage to them. So that's not too bad. Definitely just, I would consider this like a bonus portion of his kit, right? Not like super needed or anything. Okay, and then I guess the biggest thing to note here is that this falls off. Once he's in final form, this falls off after 3 turns. So this is looking like a 9-turn fight character. Once you exceed like 9 turns, then you're gonna have fully transformed into final, and then this part's gonna fall off, and now he's gonna start getting weaker from that point. But even without the guard, he still has 35% damage reduction with a 70% chance to dodge. So like, that's not nothing, right? And then obviously all of these stats too. He's got a ton of defensive stats. So yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty happy with the kit overall. I think that's pretty good. And then another thing to note down here, one reason why I was so, adamant about his like HP level is because of these cell cards that you'd be linking him with. Obviously the main ones would be like the new Dokkan Fest cell or the Int Perfect cell here are going to be decent, but then mainly this is the real unit that I want to make note of. Oh shoot, I always forget you can't open the card that way. It's so annoying. Okay, well that's fine. That cell is actually going to be healing with his super attack effect and healing with his passive, so that's going to be really, really helpful for you. And then obviously being a power absorption leader, there's a ton of boo cards and stuff that you could run alongside this guy that have a lot of good healing abilities. Like Int Fat Boo probably is the best unit in the game that provides healing support. So yeah, I think staying above 50% HP with the type of teams you could run with the cell is not going to be too difficult to do. So yeah, I am quite interested in this kit. All right, well, let's go ahead and move on to the Goku and Gohan here. Okay, so same deal. The leader skill did not change other than the additional 1 key right here. Okay, so Super Saiyans are Goku's family. Definitely not a terrible leader skill. The problem is this, right? You're not going to have very many characters on the additional 30%. Just because Android Cell Saga itself is still such a bad category. Even after this celebration, it's not too insane. We did get a couple of buffs for this category throughout the 10th anniversary period, so I guess we have a few of those cards to go off of, like the Tech Perfect Cell we were just talking about, what else do we have? The physical full power Super Saiyan 2 Gohan. We have the Int LR Super Saiyan 2 Gohan that got his Super EZA. So yeah, those cards would be included here. Oh, I guess the Cell wouldn't, because he wouldn't fall on this leader skill to begin with, right? But yeah, so there's a couple of good options, but for the most part, this is probably not the best leader skill to be using. Okay, so his basic effects, he's got Key 2, attack and defense 200%. When attacking with 12 or more Key, we've got 159% stats. Okay, and then for 5 turns from entry, so all of this is going to be rolling off of his kit. He's got 159% defense, great chance to crit, launches an additional with a great chance to super, and then a great chance of evading enemies' attack within the turn after performing a super. That is so jumbled. I hate that. Okay, so basically what this means is he's got the great chance, but not in slot 1, because you wouldn't want to use him in slot 1, because he only gets it after performing a super, and then this re-procs every turn as you super attack. So you got to put him in slot 2 or 3. I know historically one of the things that was a problem with him, with having this ability, because he did have this before, I think it was a high chance. Yeah, it was a high chance here, but the big problem with him was super attacking, right? A lot of the times this guy was really, really key hungry, and you wouldn't end up getting a super attack, and you do have to perform a super to get this ability. So now, hopefully, that won't be as much of a problem, because he gives himself the 2 key and base. So that'll be helpful. And then I guess the great chances is a nice bonus on there, too. Okay. And then, yeah, I guess because he also has this in his passive now, even if you're unable to select the key to additional initially, this might proc for you, and then you would still get the ability to proc here, right? So that's good. Okay, and then starting from turn 6, he's got a lot less defense, a little bit less of a chance to crit. This has a lower chance to become a super attack, and then only the high chance of evading. Okay, so it's the same kit, but all of this just boils back down to, like, what it was in base, as opposed to the buff stuff from the EZA. Interesting. Okay. And then after evading an attack, he gets these stats permanently. Okay, so he just evades one attack one time, and then he gets a permanent buff. Neat. Okay. All right, here we go. So this is huge. This is huge. the active skill conditions never change upon EZA. This is one of the biggest buffs we have ever seen from that coincidental factor, right? A lot of the times these things that are like turn restricted or HP restricted, or based on the number of types of enemies that you have, or the HP of the enemy, or things like that, none of those tend to change much, just unless there would be some major meta shift in the game that would cause some alteration there, right? But like for the most part, those things make it just as easy or difficult to get the ability. But this is a very unique activation condition. After performing 3 or more super attacks in battle. Now, historically, this was very hard to do, because in base, you can see, this is all he's got. He just had some stats and a little bit of evasion, which meant that at most, on turn 1, you were only getting 2 super attacks. If you managed to get the normal super from, just selecting key, and then the hidden potential system super to proc. Then on turn 3, at the very earliest, you could, see the second and third, or the third and fourth super attack, and then finally on turn 5, you would be able to transform this guy into, into the Gohan version of himself. But now with the EZA, he's got this. So, like, he just has a 70% chance to give you a free extra super on turn 1, and then now you, with the regular super plus the additional here, that's 2 already, you could launch the third one on turn 1 with the hidden potential system. So now I would say it's very, 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 very pertinent to make sure that this guy has a full additional build, which obviously was what you wanted before anyway, but yeah, now it's even more important. So that's really exciting. You could definitely see this exchange proc on turn 3. That's huge. That is the biggest buff that he got from this EZA right there, is the fact that you can get the Gohan How on turn 3. Okay, so his super attack effect, greatly raising attack permanently, and then great defense raise for the turn with a high chance of stunning. Okay. So let's go ahead and see what he's going to be looking like after we transform into Gohan, since this is actually going to be a relevant kit at this point that we're going to see exist. Okay, so he's got 250% stats in base. He gets 50% attack after receiving an attack, just permanently gets that. Okay. The more HP remaining, the more defense boost he gets here. For 3 turns from entry, he guards and has 58% damage reduction. After guard is activated 2 times in battle, he gets 158% defense, 10% damage reduction, 20% crit. After it's activated 3 times, he gets 158% stats, another 10% damage reduction, and 30% crit. After it's activated 5 times, he gets permanent guard, another 10% damage reduction, and 50% crit. Wow. That's a lot. That's a lot. Okay, so basically the idea is once you transform him, you have 3 turns where he's got the permanent guard. You want to so obviously 3 turns from character's entry means the turn he's on now. And then if you don't float him like a Dumbo, he'll come back on that 3rd turn and you get a 2nd turn. So there's 2 full turns in a row where you want to make sure he receives 5 attacks. And then I suppose you could get lucky beyond this falling off where he no longer has the permanent guard. Guard could activate for you if you're facing off against a physical enemy, because guard will activate just naturally because he's an STR unit. So yeah, I guess if against a physical enemy, you wouldn't be limited by this, but without a physical enemy, you're going to want to make sure he takes 5 hits before those 2 turns are done, right? Because he will be losing this damage reduction here, which means you definitely will have wanted to stack this extra 30% damage reduction for him. I guess the crit chance is nice, but the main thing... Well, yeah, no. And then you'll be getting the permanent guard back. That's the other really important thing, right? Okay. So, when receiving a Ki Blast super attack, great chance to nullify and counter, and then nullifies and counters with Ferocious Power when HP is 77% or less. Okay. So this works exactly like the 7th anniversary LRs, right? Where he's got the great chance to counter, and then with the HP restriction qualified, then he gets the guaranteed counter, which is pretty nice. I like that. Okay, so yeah, I think that this kit is built very nice just because of how, like, a lot of times before it sucked with this guy because he did have a lot of the same stuff in base, right? Like after guarding all these multiple times, he was getting more stuff. It was the same deal here, right? Where he had the 3 turns of the permanent guard. You wanted to try and get, it was 6 hits before to gain the permanent guard once this part rolled off of the kit. But the problem was the fight would always end because it was already like turn 5, turn 7 by the time you got this guy out in the first place. But now that it's looking more likely to get this guy out on turn 3 or 4 or something like that, I think having these additional turns of playing around with this kit are going to be relevant. You're actually going to see some of this now. So yeah, that is pretty exciting. I am definitely looking forward to using this character. Let's see. It's not showing the physical Super Saiyan 2 Gohan as being a decent linking partner here. But I guess it's because all of these have like 6 links. He's got 7 links with Daima Goku. Oh my goodness, that's going to be a fun one to run alongside him, especially because Daima Goku is your slot 1, right? Namek Goku here too. Yeah, wow, there are some pretty good options. Obviously, again, these aren't characters that are going to be on this 200% leader skill, but just as far as considering using this guy on a team, on somebody else's team, yeah, we've got some good options here. Like, he is on quite a few teams, right? So yeah, there's definitely places to run this guy. Ooh, accelerated battle, I love it. Oh yeah, full power. He's even on the Super Saiyan 2 Gohan's team himself. Wow. Yeah, there is definitely going to be some good use cases for this guy coming up. So yeah, overall, I would say I'm pretty excited with these kits. I think they did a pretty good job with these. Definitely structured them in ways where they are going to be usable in both the short form content, where, you know, you're jumping into a 1-phase fight against like Blue Goku, who's, you know, as strong as he's going to be right away, and you're dealing with like these ridiculously damaging super attacks out the gate. They've got abilities to deal with that kind of thing. Though I guess the Blue Goku fight at the end of the Vegeta family, or the Vegeta edition Red Zone is what I was referring to, is a bad example because it cancels dodge, and both of these units in base do depend on their dodging capability, right? So that fight specifically is a bad example, but yeah, lots of short form content are going to be good for these guys, and then obviously they have a lot of potential to build up and get much stronger if you are able to stack them a little while. So yeah, I am overall pretty excited for these. We'll just have to wait another like day or 2 for these EZAs to release, and then I'll be doing a follow-up video for completing their EZA events. So that's going to go ahead and do it for this one. Thank you guys so much for sticking with me. Don't forget to check out the links in the description below, and I will catch you guys next time. Peace!